Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm Josh Guesman along with Wendy Thomas, and on today's show we're going to recap the 0-0 draw with Vancouver that saw 2 first-half subs and 3 LA Galaxy injuries. We're also going to give you all the latest on Nigel de Jong's departure, including sharing our thoughts on what happened and what went wrong. Finally, we're going to get you updated on all the LA Galaxy news and get you ready for Saturday night's matchup with the Columbus Crew. And somewhere in between, we'll be joined by LA Galaxy midfielder Emmanuel Boateng. It's a packed show, so don't go anywhere. Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com starts right now. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Now here are your hosts, Josh Guesman and Wendy Thomas. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Happy September, everybody. September 1st, we finally got out of that horrendous month that was August, so welcome to September. Hopefully it doesn't resemble August at all. Although I will say, Wendy, when you look at all of the things that have been happening here at the end of August, it seems impossible that perhaps the LA Galaxy couldn't have some hangover into September. How are you feeling right now? Are you okay?
Not really. I would have to be honest. No, I'm not really okay. As an LA, I mean, personally, I'm well, and I know you are well personally. Right. That's
yes.
good.
Yes.
But as an LA Galaxy fan, I am really upset and befuddled and sort of perplexed. In a negative way about what is happening to the team and why it has happened. And, you know, I have concerns, great concerns about what the future is going to look like for this team.
Yeah, big, giant concern. I think everybody does, and I don't think that's wrong to be perplexed, angry, not understand what's going on, and lots of things. And hopefully what we're going to try to do, and I'm going to help you through it, is we're going to try to understand exactly what's going on with the LA Galaxy and sort of what led to all of this turmoil happening in a very short period of time. Obviously, the LA Galaxy draws 0-0 with the Vancouver Whitecaps last Saturday. I don't want to bury the lead here and not talk about Nigel de Jong. All right, and that's one of the important things that we're going to have to look at is, you know, really what happened here with Nigel de Jong and what can we expect from this LA Galaxy team as we move forward. So, Wendy, I mean, your first thing about talking, you know, about Nigel de Jong, I mean, that's really, that's what you seem to be perplexed about, right?
Well, I am really, okay, I'm really perplexed about it. I don't understand what happened.
Right.
Do you know what happened?
I have some ideas of what happened, and I think that maybe I can help out a little bit if we go that way. So we know that Nigel de Jong has been transferred to Galatasaray, and that happened as a free of charge or a no fee transfer on a free, however you want to say it. Basically, the LA Galaxy get zero money for transferring Nigel de Jong over to Galatasaray, and in fact, what they actually do is they terminated his contract, and the LA Galaxy announced that both parties mutually agreed to terminate that contract, Wendy, and that would allow Nigel de Jong to go to Galatasaray in Turkey, and that's the general mechanics of it. All right. Yes.
Why?
Why? Okay. So this has to do with speculation, okay? And it's the only thing we can do. We can speculate. We can speculate one of two ways. All right. One is that Nigel de Jong wasn't happy living in Los Angeles, even though he bought a house in Encino, and that he wasn't happy with the LA Galaxy for whatever reason, and that he wanted to go to Galatasaray. So that is one way you could theorize and understand this. All right. That to me,
choosing to go to Turkey right now, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a lot of money. I mean, roughly $2.79, almost $3 million. A year. So that's good. That's good money. Remember, he's making $500,000 with the LA Galaxy, but mostly living off of money that AC Milan gave him whenever they terminated his contract. It was sort of like a settlement, like, hey, we'll give you X number of dollars if you go away early, and then the LA Galaxy got...
It's the same thing with Cole.
Yeah, exactly. So same sort of idea. So that's fine. And so he's going to make some money there, but he was scheduled to make, if he played a certain amount of games, Wendy, now that would be 23 games, if he was playing 23 games, that he would then be able to take over a designated player spot, and that designated player spot would mean that he would get close to $3 million a year. So about the same amount of money he's going to get with Turkey.
I didn't know that you could terminate a contract mid-season.
It would have to be mutual, and that is why in the press release it says that it's mutually terminated contract. So I have a feeling that so here is the big thing, and Soccer by Ives sort of went and tried to break down some of this stuff, and they have some sources and they have some conjecture, and I think it's probably pretty close on that the LA Galaxy, knowing that Nigel de Jong was going to meet that 23 game threshold, Wendy, decided that they didn't want to pay him designated player money, or they didn't have a designated player spot available to him next year to give, and so this was their last chance to let him go somewhere before that transfer window closed. Don't know if there was discussions behind the scenes with Nigel and his agent and them trying to work out a deal, whether there was going to be, they were trying to like restructure his deal somehow so that way the LA Galaxy could keep him if there wasn't going to be a designated player spot, which again, if that's the case, that's a whole other issue that we need to talk about as well. The other possibility is that the LA Galaxy could have their eye, or could already have a deal done with another designated player who they feel is going to be a better fit in terms of need for the LA Galaxy coming up in 2017, and this was the chance to make that move. Don't know. Again, that's conjecture.
This is bizarre because, first of all, this suggests that Robbie Keane, Steven Gerrard, Giovanni Dos Santos, is it conceivable that all three of those players are returning when Robbie Keane has been injured essentially the entire season? Steven Gerrard plays like 30 minutes every other game,
right.
And Giovanni Dos Santos is kind of like an anonymous player.
Yes, I think it is absurd to think that all of them would come back, Wendy. So I don't think that that's something that you should necessarily look into that way. I think that it's something that would be on the extreme case. I don't think that Steven Gerrard is coming back, and I don't think a lot of these things are happening. I don't think all of those things are coming back right now. That's just another reason that this could make sense. We're trying to make some sense of something that may not make sense. And I understand that. I hope that all the LA Galaxy fans sort of understand that as well. There may not be a reasonable answer that satisfies everybody for this. I don't know. I think
especially since Nigel de Jong has played pretty well for the Galaxy this season.
He's played very well. Defensively, he was absolutely excellent, and that's what you brought Nigel de Jong in to do.
And so the Galaxy knew that they had a contract with him that would obligated them to pay him as a DP next season, and yet they decided to bring him on and then changed their mind, even though he was one of our best players this season.
It could be. Maybe they were too
That
worried about.
That defies logic, doesn't it?
Well, no, because think about it. Maybe they thought he was too much of a liability. Maybe they saw that he was suspended for 5 games this year, and they said, hey, listen, if we keep him on again, this is going to happen again next year. Maybe that's too much of a distraction or too many issues. I mean, they're allowed to change their mind. It's just them having to work out of the issue and having to ship Nigel de Jong, one of the guys who's anchoring the LA Galaxy, in midfield and defensively, and they have to ship him off basically in the middle of the season, right before the playoff run starts. Now, again, I don't think this is as big a deal, although it still would have got all the notoriety and all the attention that I think it probably did, if the LA Galaxy didn't lose 3 players in one game against Vancouver, because all of a sudden the bench looks really short.
No, he is our only healthy player. Literally, okay. Keen is gone. Gerard injured. Van Dam injured. Rowe recovering. I mean, this is
Right.
Zardes out for the season. We
Right.
have no one.
Roger-
Nigel de Jong.
Oh, and we're Wendy's cutting in and out here on occasion, so we're going to try to fix that. But no, I get what Wendy's trying to sort of come to here is that, the LA Galaxy have a bunch of issues, and it seemed like the one person they didn't have issues with was Nigel de Jong. And I get that. I get that Nigel de Jong was a super integral part of this team and that it's very difficult to lose them. And Wendy, I get that all of these things are very difficult, and you look at the one person you really didn't have injury issues with, although Nigel did miss some games because of injury.
Yeah, he had no problem adapting to MLS. I mean, yes, he had their suspensions, but you knew that when you got him. You knew his reputation.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the reason that the LA Galaxy put the performance clause in there, that if you play, it's kind of a weird performance clause. You have to play 23 games. Like, we want to see you actually contribute on the field in terms of you're starting, you're playing in games, you get 23 games. We want to see that.
And there's a chance he could have made it.
I think he does. He's at 18 games with 8 games remaining. I mean, there's as long as he doesn't get suspended again, I think there was a pretty good chance. This is the other thing that you could. Maybe Nigel didn't think that he could make it, and maybe that's why he went, because he didn't want to be locked into a different contract. I don't know what the ramifications were if he didn't reach 23 games. I don't know if he didn't get designated player money or if the contract was basically terminated at the end of the season, if that happened and, nobody went forward. So I don't have a good answer for you, but I can certainly try to explain why there could be reasons that they did it. And again, it's highlighted mostly because the LA Galaxy lose 3 starters, basically. And Nigel de Jong would have been good to have in the lineup, and you don't have him anymore. So basically, you lose 4 players, with the snap of fingers. Although I think Robbie Keane's going to be back. Obviously, Gyasi Zardes with the broken foot is out, and all those things. So that's sort of where we stand right now with Nigel de Jong.
Why doesn't the Galaxy explain its decisions?
In this particular case, if they did it for the reason that they didn't want to play him designated player money, I think they wouldn't say that, or they wouldn't come out and say it. They wouldn't say, hey, we didn't want to play him designated player money, because maybe they had an issue with the player, or maybe the player wasn't doing something that they expected. And if that's the case, you don't want to sort of blow that player up. You want him to be, hey, we love Nigel, he's great, and we're really excited that he can go back and go to Galatasaray, and we wish him all the best, and blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. If you listen to everybody talk about Nigel after he disappears, Wendy, or after he goes to Galatasaray, everybody's saying how wonderful he is and all those things. Now, that happens to almost any player anytime they leave. So you're going to get a lot of the lip service, and everybody's going to do it because, and especially the LA Galaxy, like to keep things behind closed doors, Wendy.
Yeah, I know, but it seems like as a fan, we just have all these unanswered questions and the team seems to be imploding, and yet it seems like the front office, is quite arrogant with us about, explaining what's happening and why.
Well, and I don't know that it's, first of all, the LA Galaxy are in 4th place in the Western Conference. I mean, yes, August was horrible. Absolutely horrible, horrendous, and it was one of the worst stretches in months that I can remember, Wendy. And
I think September could be worse.
It could be. Absolutely, it could be. It's not, but at the end of September, if all this stuff goes wrong, I mean, do they come out and say something? I don't know. Listen, MLS is full of this as well. MLS is the league, does not tell you what's going on and does not explain things.
I hate that about the league. But it just seems to me like you can either win games and be arrogant, or you can lose games and address the concerns of your fans conscientiously, but you can't neglect your fans and be and lose games.
I think if they go and they can win with the lineups that they have, which I think is still possible with all the players that are there. And yes, it is going to be, but I still believe there's so much talent on the LA Galaxy that they can beat a team like Columbus come Saturday. So does that help them? Does that momentum? Does that sort of stretch them out a little bit further?
I admire your positivity. I really do. I admire it because I look at the injuries and what's going on, and I think that the season is essentially over.
Yeah, and I don't, because you have so many bench players that are like MLS veterans, and you have younger guys who have been playing well, Sebastian Lletget and Emma Boateng, who are both healthy. Daniel Steres, Robbie Rogers came back healthy. You got Brian Rowe back in goal, and yeah, he was a little shaky, but we're gonna go ahead and give him a pass on that. Ashley Cole is still playing. I mean, you look at the names that you're going to be able to float for the starting lineup coming against Columbus, and yes, Alan Gordon probably is in there, or Mike McGee is in there, and you have some guys who are older, but they're not like their B- team mean, this isn't most people's bench. This is the LA Galaxy's bench, and they were deep. So they have a chance. And against Columbus, who's struggling, I think that the LA Galaxy can put something together. So the Vancouver game hurts. Listen, Gyasi Zardes is one of the biggest hits that you could possibly take. I don't expect him back for the playoffs. I know other people are going to hold out hope for that. I wouldn't.
No, broken foot.
Yeah, it's too much. So, it's just one of those things that's interesting and maybe a little weird and everything else in between, that all these things happen in one game. And, with the Vancouver game and what happened, I don't know how you can even judge that game. Yes, the LA Galaxy should have won 3 points. They should have got 3 points. Absolutely. But they had to make 2 subs in the first half. I mean, Alan Gordon wasn't 90 minutes fit, and he was out there playing. You had Robbie Rogers, who wasn't 90 minutes fit, and he was out there playing. I don't know what you wanted from that team, except, they really battled.
3 points at home.
And I think that's what they wanted too. And the circumstances in that game, that's horrible. We've seen that happen to other teams that came to play at StubHub Center this year. I forget which team it was, had to make 2 first-half subs, and you're thinking, oh, the LA Galaxy take them, and, they hung on for a draw there. I don't know.
The Red Bulls.
Yeah, what?
We did not beat the Red Bulls.
Well, the Red Bulls that was a 2-2 game, right? So that was a draw. That was a draw. There were goals in that game. There was another game where some team had to come in and do that, and it was a draw. But it was like a 0-0 draw. They just held everybody scoreless and, went on and about their things. But I don't think this is the end for the LA Galaxy. Now, do I think that they're going to be able to climb the table in September and into October in the last thing? I think that's going to be a stretch for a lot of things, but it is. I mean, what about the Vancouver game? Throwing aside Nigel de Jong, who had a very good game in the Vancouver game, by the way. Besides Nigel de Jong, again, he played well, but what else did you see from the Vancouver game that worries you? It's still the offense, right?
Oh my God, we were so bad.
See, okay. This is hysterical.
We were awful. That was one of the worst games I've seen in my entire life of watching MLS games.
See, okay, there's a lot of people who have that view, and I think you're all crazy. I watched that 0-0 Kansas City game. That was the worst game by far.
That was a game too.
Okay,
that was awful.
So short memories. I thought the LA Galaxy actually played okay for the situation they were in. Sebastian Lletget looked great in the middle. Loved him. That's his new position. Let's go ahead and make that. All right, let's see. We're gonna have a phone call. Let's see if we can get him in. 805, who's this? 805, who's this?
Josh, this is Scott.
Scott, now I don't have to play your awesome call that you left here. What's up, buddy?
A few things.
Yes.
So, I'm really upset about the Nigel thing, mostly because I remember listening to a Bruce interview either beginning of this season or last season, where he basically says he treats every MLS season as kind of a one-year type thing, where he's not looking long-term, trying to construct a roster.
Right.
If that's true, then he should have gone into the season planning to have Nigel de Jong for the entire year.
Right.
Now, I don't. Who cares about why he left now? Whatever, the DP trigger, whatever. The fact is, we lost one of our best defensive players in the middle of the season. So that's just really disappointing. And I think doing that, we've proven that we can't really win on the road. And looking at what we did last year's playoffs against Seattle, or what if we go to MLS Cup against NYCFC or a team on the East, or what if we slip in the 5th place spot, a 6th place spot in the West? We didn't really have the firepower or the defensive wherewithal to go into kind of that environment and win. I feel hopeless with this team in terms of actually grinding out results on the road in big games.
No, Scott, I think that's something. There's something to that. I think you should be angry about Nigel de Jong leaving in the middle of the season. I don't think that there's any reason. There's no way for me to explain it that makes 100% sense that would make you happy or make you feel happy. Now, in the long term, I think it's a good move because I don't know that you wanted to keep Nigel de Jong as a designated player next year, especially if the LA Galaxy are possibly angling at having 2 designated player spots open.
Then why was that part of the deal then? Why was that trigger included?
Well, I think
2017, 2018 thing.
Well, I think that it's a good question. I don't know if the Galaxy wanted more from him in terms of offensive side, which you were never going to get from Nigel de Jong, and I don't think that Bruce.
Why would you do that with a defensive midfielder?
Exactly. So I mean that doesn't hurt me at all to say that doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. It very well could be, Scott, that the Galaxy do have somebody lined up for next year, and if they sign Nigel, that they didn't want to have sort of a defensive player as a designated player because they wanted this person. Now then
what about this year?
Yeah, that means the second half of our season is shot.
Well, it's not even the second half. It's the last 8 games. All right, and
Last
yet
8 games are shot because he was one of our best players.
that's great. What do you? I don't understand what. Again, yes, that's absolutely true. Okay, you can be as mad as you want at Bruce Arena, at Chris Klein, however that works. The bottom line is that a lot of these things now we have to do for the LA Galaxy coming in is they were looking down the road, and you do want your team to look down the road too. You can't just. I know Bruce said that he builds a roster for the year, and that's great. All right, and I'm sure that he believes that 95% of the time. All right, but 5% of the time, if this deal was going to handcuff the Galaxy in 2017, wouldn't you rather they pull the plug now?
Dude, come on. Like, then why am I a fan of this league when there's just ridiculous roster rules, when the coach says one thing but has to do another thing in order to, be in line with what MLS allows for? It's absolutely ridiculous. We spend so much money going to these games, and we have to cut one of our best defensive players just so I don't even know. I have no idea.
Well, and that's the thing. We don't know why, and I agree with you that the rules that MLS set forward. Now, here's the cut against Bruce and Chris Klein is they knew these rules going in, so there's absolutely no reason that they should have any issues with sort of what happened. I don't know that we're ever going to know, which is sad. We can ask the questions, Scott. And we can try and hopefully understand what's going on with why they made these moves. But again, I'm with you. I think you should be angry because you're not gonna know the reasons for this stuff. We can guess and we can make conjecture. And the roster rules certainly, I have a feeling that it definitely came into play. All right, with designated players, and maybe it's a bad contract by Bruce Arena. And if that's the case, Bruce and Chris have to stand up and say, hey, that was a bad contract. We shouldn't have done that because there was no way we were ever going to pay a defensive player $3 million a year to come join us. So I get it. I get the frustration. I don't think the season's over because of this, but it certainly took a hit with losing 3 players and transferring a player out all at the same time. Does that help, Scott, at all? No, it doesn't. You still want to...
Well, if I can make one last comment,
go ahead.
and then I'll hang up. You talk about being angry, and honestly, I'm not angry because I've been a season ticket holder since 11, been fan of the league since I go away. It's just these mechanisms of the league make it really difficult to be passionate because so many things are kind of out of the hands of what the fans think what is a logical progression of what a season and a roster construction should be.
Yep.
That's just the fact that we have to get rid of probably our best or second best defender in the middle of the season for some Mickey Mouse reason. It's just, I don't know. I just feel not depressed because it's just soccer. I don't care that much, but it's just, why do I have to keep spending money to go to these games and watch this team?
No. I get it, and I understand the frustration. And, it's something that, again, if this season ends badly, even maybe if this season doesn't end badly, eventually somebody gets called to the carpet and asks about this Nigel de Jong deal because you can't reasonably.
That's your job.
Yeah, I know. I'm already. I'll get Chris Klein in here again. We'll sit him down and we'll have a talk and we'll see what happens. But yeah, ultimately that's what's going to happen because you had a 2015 year that fizzled out and didn't come together with the players that you brought in, and this year sort of the same thing. At least right now as we see it. And that's an issue. And if you had to transfer out one of the guys who looked like he was working the best, regardless of what any MLS person or anybody else says, then that's a question and that's a problem. So I agree with you. I hope your ice cream is better. Scott left me a long message and he talked about his ice cream for about 30 seconds. So I hope your ice cream gets better, Scott. And I hope that the LA Galaxy can win on Saturday to make you feel just a little bit better.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Bye, Wendy.
Bye, Scott.
All right. Wendy, why don't we go ahead and take a break? I want to get talking with Emmanuel Boateng, who's going to call in and talk to us here on the show. And then I know we still have so much more stuff, and I have a feeling we're still going to talk about some Nigel de Jong as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that whenever we get back. I'm going to be joined by Emmanuel Boateng, LA Galaxy midfielder, and then after that we're talking about the Columbus Crew coming to StubHub Center on Saturday. Still got a bunch to say. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Hey there, everybody watching the live show. Want to get you in on the best deal in town. You guys get to help us out, and you get something cool as well. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com/shop, where you can get our wonderful pins, our damn pins as we call them, or the remainder of our Corner of the Galaxy magnets that can go up on your fridge and make you remember that you love Corner of the Galaxy as much as I love Corner of the Galaxy. You help us out, let us run the show for a little bit longer, let us feed that website meter for a little bit longer as well. Remember, go to cornerofthegalaxy.com/shop for all of your Corner of the Galaxy shopping needs. Thanks.
Recording from CoG Studios and not their mom's basement, it's Corner of the Galaxy.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Josh here with you once again. Wendy is going to go ahead and take this segment off, and the reason she's doing that is we have a very special guest coming back on the show for the second time, so we don't want to waste too much time. We'll get right to him. Please welcome back LA Galaxy midfielder Emmanuel Boateng. Ema, how's it going?
I'm good, Josh. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for coming on. We certainly appreciate it.
No problem. I like coming on.
All right, so let's go. The first time we got to talk to you, it was all about coming to MLS and sort of the journey that you got to take in order to make it to the LA Galaxy. But now, your first year with the LA Galaxy, you have 18 games played, over 1,000 minutes. 13 of those games were starts. What has this year been like for you so far?
It's been fun. I like the competition. Good guys on the team, and I've got a lot of help over since I got here in January up to now. A lot of the veterans helping me shape my game, and the coaches and everyone. So it's been fun. It's been a good learning experience, and had some good times on the field.
Now that you've actually had a chance to play in MLS, I guess my first question for you sort of is, what's been the most surprising thing about the league so far?
I think the physicality, the guys in the league are pretty fit. That's why, I didn't anticipate that coming. I mean, I knew, obviously, professional athletes, so everyone's going to be fit to going, but you can definitely tell guys been hitting the gym hard and everyone, just focused really hard. So just got some really strong guys in the league and athletic guys. And the other surprising thing is also, the traveling. Lots of traveling.
Right.
Just looking at what happened with us last week in, New York, Chicago, and then 2 days later we had to play at home. So, that's also something new.
Well, you talk about the physicality. For a guy who, we'll say you're not tall, all right? So for a guy who's not tall, how do you offset some of that physicality?
I just use my speed, just play to your advantage. So my advantage there is the speed, and just try to hurt teams that way too. So if you can, really get close to me to, kind of, push me around, then, I think I'm winning. So I just use my speed to get away from defenders and try to help the team.
Well, I talked to you after last week's game, and I was impressed in the Vancouver game with your ability to track back and defend. I think that's one of the things that maybe I've seen you improve on over this year. Has that been a point of focus for you?
Yeah, it has. I mean, playing the game, just, sometimes not every dribble is going to go through. So just when I lose it, my mentality is, just, get it right back, try to, show my teammates that, I'm willing to work hard. And, it's not just me losing the ball. Someone else lose it and I'm close to the ball and can make a play defensively. I'm definitely, going to go in there and, try to win the ball back for the team. So, it's been a focus and it's all part of the game. So I need to get better in all those parts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what have you, in your mind, what have you done well so far this season?
So far, I think, the games that have been asked to come in, I think I've, increasingly done better to impact the game, whether, it's an assist here and there or making runs deep to create more room for the midfielders and stuff underneath to create some options. Just trying to come in and just listen to what the coaches tell me. If I'm starting, what do they need me to do? And just every game is different. There are some games that I need to get the ball on my feet. Some games I need to, make runs behind to, just if I'm not getting the ball, just kind of open space for my teammates to get that ball too. So just all around, just, game after game, try to, be impactful.
Well, what is the next step in your development, or really, what do you see right now that you need to improve on?
I think things can be still a little sharper. Get a few goals in there and a couple more assists. I think that's all gonna come with how the team plays and stuff, and just me being a little more aggressive in the final third. Also, just the final quality on, some crosses and stuff. And I know I said the beginning of the season, I think is getting better, but definitely got to keep at it and try to improve that area as well.
Emo, this team, after last week's 0-0 draw, lost 3 players to injury. You also had a player shipped off. What is sort of the mentality of this team right now? Is it all about the depth right now, and do you think guys are ready to step up? Or is there a little bit of shell shock for just how quickly everything went from okay to not panicky, but a lot different than maybe what you guys were expecting?
Yeah, I mean, we started preseason with all those guys, and we anticipated something might happen with the injury or whatever. But still when it happens, it's a little bit of a shock. But we talked about it right when we got in on Tuesday, and everyone is preparing towards making a contribution for the next games and the playoffs. So everyone is just it hurts to have, guys like, Jesse out and Stevie and Yellow out for maybe a couple weeks and, Nigel gone. But guys are going to need to step up. And so far what I've seen in practice, everyone is preparing towards making an impact in the next coming games.
I have to ask you about Nigel de Jong and his departure. For fans and even for people like me who cover it, it seemed to happen really fast, and it was a little bit surprising. Do you share that same view that it happened fast and maybe a little surprising?
Yeah, it did happen fast. I read about it, I think, on Twitter on Monday, and then later in the afternoon, kind of exchanged text with him, and I knew it was done deal on Monday when he told me he was flying back. So, it all happened real quick. I guess there was, talks going on, but I didn't know anything about that until Monday. And within 6 hours after I found out, I knew he was, flying out to Turkey. So it happened real quick, but, that's the nature of the business. We're going to miss, Nigel a lot. He's a great leader and a great guy on the field too. That really helped this team in many ways this year. So we're definitely gonna miss him, but it's up to us to carry on and try to stay focused on the main mission, which is to win games.
Well, with all the injuries and now with Nigel gone as well, this probably means more starting minutes for you. So what is your particular mindset for the rest of the season?
Just take it one game at a time. That's just, being our focus. The most important day is today. So today after practice, what do I need to do? Relax, get ready for tomorrow's practice. And I get in tomorrow, just focus on the session and just try to take it day by day. Our next game is Columbus, and we want to get a win. It's a home game. It'll be good for us in the standings if we win. So, just get out there aggressive and try to win games. That's the most important thing right now. So I'm looking forward to the opportunities that are going to come for me and go out there and help this team win.
Yeah, you were talking about Columbus, and they're coming in. They've won 2 games out of their last 3, but overall a struggling team this year. What's the most important thing for the Galaxy to do on Saturday? Is it just to get 3 points and start to maybe put August behind you, or is there something specific that you're thinking about for Saturday?
Just 3 points first. Definitely, we want to play well and. We want to position ourselves, kind of have a frame of, the squad that we have getting, close to the playoffs and everything. But the most important thing is getting the 3 points. And when we get that, I think, no, I'm not saying our confidence is down, but it can still, improve our confidence a little more. And we can all get excited for the next coming game. So we haven't had a win in a while. And 3 points is very important on Saturday.
Yeah, with all the injuries, everything that's sort of happened, the not so great August showing, as you say, the LA Galaxy haven't got a win in a while. Does this team have the confidence? Do they have the players to reach another MLS Cup despite all the injuries, despite everything else that has sort of happened? Do you guys feel confident right now?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we can still go on and win games and be very competitive. We can win games. It's that simple. Everyone, we just have to come together as a team, work hard for each other, try to create chances, and Bruce has been saying the past 2 weeks, just be a little more aggressive, be a little more selfish in front of goal, take shots, and he's just saying this to everyone else. So if we all buy into that, which I can see everyone is making an effort in practice, trying to be a little more edgy around the balls and stuff. So if we do all that, I think we're right on course. So there's no, panic here, but there's an urgency to play well and win games at this point of the year.
Well, the LA Galaxy will face off against the Columbus Crew at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. Make sure you get there, lagalaxy.com/tickets. Ima, I want to thank you for stopping by again. I'm sure we'll try to catch up with you before this season's over, and good luck on Saturday.
All right. Thank you very much, Josh. And, continue good work. I'll be listening.
All right. Thanks, Zima. All right. There's Emmanuel Boateng calling into the show for the second time. Great guy. Love talking to him. Really showing some improvement. So I'm excited to see what he can do here for the rest of the year. All right. Whenever I get back, Wendy will be back to join me. We still have LA Galaxy news to go over, anything we haven't touched on already. And then, of course, going to still talk about this Columbus game coming up. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. We'll be right back.
Ready for some more Corner of the Galaxy? Don't forget to head over to the website for all the latest podcasts, news, and more. Visit us online at cornerofthegalaxy.com.
Hey, this is Chris,
This is Eddie. This is Jason.
and we're from Back Pocket Memory, and you're listening to Corner of the Galaxy.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Josh Guesman, Wendy Thomas back with you. I want to thank Emmanuel Boateng for stopping by. Thanks Chris Glidden over at the LA Galaxy for setting that up. Always appreciate it. Some good little nuggets there from Ema. I like that Wendy, he was caught. It seems that he was caught by surprise just as much as everybody else when Nigel de Jong left. He just knew about it Monday night, and we had to wait for it to be dragged out a little bit longer. So we were on top of it here at Corner of the Galaxy on Monday night. So I feel like we were close and we knew something was going on. And you know, I usually try to tell people when there's like smoke and when there's fire, and immediately as soon as that rumor started to pick up and I started making some phone calls, I was like, fire right now, which was interesting.
Kevin Baxter usually knows, doesn't he?
Kevin usually can figure that stuff out. I won't say that Kevin and I work together closely, but we do call each other.
But
Yeah.
he's of the media outlets which have, I don't know, any credibility. The LA Times is a real media outlet.
Yes.
And he covers the LA Galaxy.
He does. Kevin does a great job, and we had him on the podcast where we tried to dissect and guess reasons why this could possibly make sense for the LA Galaxy. So go back and look for that show. It's called the Breaking News Nigel de Jong podcast there. And I actually put out 2 podcasts on Monday night just because there was breaking news. So, yes. So Kevin was on top of it. Absolutely.
All right. Well,
I
I'm glad Kevin's on top of it. I still feel confused. I still drive around in my car in Los Angeles and have angry debates with Bruce Arena in my head.
I think that's
And
only healthy.
He never actually gives me an answer that I want. So
Well, guess what? That's just like real life then. You are actually maybe talking to Bruce Arena in your head because he never gives anybody really answers that anybody's really happy with.
But that's the thing, is that these press conferences, when someone asks him a sincere question about why do we have 6,
Right.
winless in 6 games, and he says he just replies with a very snarky, "Oh, I think we're going to fold the franchise." That is such a dismissive response, and that essentially really impedes the ability of media to allay the concerns of fans. And although Bruce Arena may just reflect his disenchantment with media, because I know he doesn't love media.
What are you talking about?
And also at the same time, is a way of essentially silencing the voice of fans who want to know what is happening to our team.
Yeah.
And it's one thing for an organization to be dismissive of media, or to independent media, I should say, but it's another thing for an organization to just sort of dismiss its fans. No team can afford to just ignore the will of its fans.
Correct. No, and I agree with that. And I think that you were right. By the way, the comment of folding the franchise, he said 2 or 3 times. I know everybody
He says it all the time.
Yeah. But I saw people getting really upset about it this time, and it wasn't because they were like, this is the 3rd time he said it. They just listened this time. This is the norm. That's normal for Bruce. That's a normal answer. And regardless of, and there's some really good reporters. I will not consider myself one of them who ask questions. Bruce gives me non-answers all the time. Sometimes Bruce answers my question perfectly and absolutely wonderfully. It's everything that I possibly wanted to hear. But
if it's a question that he doesn't like, then it's essentially he gives you a snark reply.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that because, that's not, you shouldn't ask Bruce questions like that.
Right.
And it's like, that's the media's job, is to ask questions that the fans want real answers to. And if the media doesn't do that, the media isn't doing its job, as limited as a role in soccer reportage is.
Yes.
It's still nonetheless your job to ask questions that the fan themselves want answered. And if the more that a coach just dismisses those questions out of hand, the less he is serving the interest of the fans.
Yeah, the question, the real person to talk to on this stuff is Chris Klein as president, because Chris will be as honest with you as he possibly can, and I have always had excellent conversations, and he's been on the show and we've had excellent conversations, when things are wrong or when things seem that like, you can't get answers. So, I'll reach out to Chris Klein again and see if we can get some answers of why Nigel de Jong was moved and all that stuff.
It's not just Nigel de Jong, though. It's a lot of things with the Galaxy. When I talk to my customer service rep, or I complain about the parking attendants being rude or anything, it's just like, it seems like the Galaxy as an organization is not attuned to the interests and wishes of its fans, and that it's sort of like is tuning them out. And I don't know why that is, because it's it's a reckless thing to do when you're in a media market like Los Angeles.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case, by the way. I know that there are people who literally sit at Twitter and look for complaints about people about the stadium and about parking and all that stuff. I know that there are those people. I know that whenever I'm up in the press box and you hear some complaints come down about parking or stuff like that, that they're always trying to fix it and they make notes of it and they write it down. They have to go to the appropriate people to do that. So I don't think you're not being heard. If you feel that way, you should definitely continue to talk to your season ticket rep, but also know that, you know, in terms of player personnel or anything that's on the field, the people who are in the front office are very segregated from Bruce Arena, despite the fact that he has, you know, an office in the same, or a cubicle basically in the same office as everybody else. He has an actual office, but you know what I mean. He sits right there. They're very separate worlds as in terms of operations and, you know, what happens on the field.
Okay, well, as a fan, I don't feel like either of them are addressing my needs right now, and I can't fathom that I am the only person who feels that way.
No,
I can't fathom. I mean, putting aside the performance of the team on the field, because I understand that international call-ups, injuries, we've had the worst rash of injuries, but putting that aside, the LA Galaxy as an organization, I feel like really should redouble its efforts to be of service to its fans, because there's a lot of ways in which I feel like it is lapsing in its performance as a service-oriented organization.
Well, I'm going to say the same thing that I see. I agree. If that's how you feel, then yeah, that's something that they should address in terms of how that all goes. I will say this, and I notice it, and it's absolutely 100% true. And having watched and covered the LA Galaxy since 2009, and been in the press box and been down in the fans and stands and all that stuff, I can tell you that if this team was winning, there would be less complaints, because winning always solves everything, right?
Less complaints. That's what I'm saying, is that when Bruce Arena says things like, I guess we're going to fold the franchise, into response to question that's like, why are we losing game after game? You can either be arrogant when you're winning, or you can dismiss fans, but you can't dismiss fans and lose games.
Right.
You can't do both those things.
He's consistent, though. He'll dismiss you even when he's winning. So, you know, I don't want you to think that I think
it's just, and I think that is such a foolhardy way to approach things. You know, I've worked in a lot of different fields. I worked at the White House. I've worked under attorneys generals, Department of Justice, and all the people who I know of who achieved great things, who were great people. None of them ever took the approach that I have nothing to learn from you because I know more than you.
Right.
Everyone that I know who is a great person, who's accomplished great things, always took the attitude of, I want to learn from everyone.
Right,
I think
but
that
you
Bruce
can't.
is just one of the things that is a major problem is that he is just criminally arrogant.
Okay, but he's arrogant, but he's also the most successful U.S.-based soccer coach ever to have been in the game.
But who's to say he couldn't be more successful if he didn't listen to people around him more? Absolutely,
but the way he has done has worked very well for him. I don't know that you can blame him for having that shell. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's difficult to cover him as a reporter. It's difficult to get answers from him. His players love him. People want to play for him. And I think and he wins championships. As a coach, I don't know that you could ask for much more. And yes, it would be great if he was super open about everything. Carl Robinson, the coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, talked to us after the game. Really love Carl Robinson. Would love to just sit down and listen to him talk for a while. He seems open and doing that. And if you look at the new guard, those new guys who are sort of coming out, they're not the same as Bruce Arena. They are more open. But again, Bruce is who Bruce is. He has always been that way. I can't fault him because it's not like he changes his attitude depending on what happens.
I think it's hard to coast on that attitude when your performance isn't measuring up to the level of confidence that you're projecting.
Yeah, he's won 3 MLS Cups with the LA
He's
Galaxy.
won 3 MLS Cups, but he's certainly not winning anything now.
Oh, I love the short sample size that everybody has for a coach, especially Coach Bruce Arena. Tell me who you'd like to be replaced.
I'm not saying fire him. I'm not of the opinion he should be fired.
Well, then you're not going to change him. So you're not going to change him. So you either fire him or you live with how he is.
The only thing I can do is complain.
Okay,
and if
that's
the LA
fine.
Galaxy is deaf to the concerns of its fans, then that's just the way that the organization is going to handle things. But I'm just saying, as a fan, I don't like it.
All right, gotcha. Everybody likes it. Nobody has a problem with Bruce when he wins championships, though. That's
No,
that's the
but
problem.
That's what. Hey, if you're Apple Computers and you sell iPods by the truckload, then Steve Jobs can be as much of a jerk to service vendors as he possibly wants.
Right.
But if you're not selling anything, then you can't.
Oh, it makes sense. That works for me. All right, let's move on with some other news that has hit the LA Galaxy before we try to give you just a little brief preview of this Columbus game coming up on Saturday. Robbie Keane did play his final match of his international career. This came on Wednesday, where Ireland played Oman in a game. I think they won 4-0. Keane did score a goal, thank God. I mean, Ireland went up 1-0 rather early, and then it was all about feeding Robbie Keane, and everybody just kept trying to feed Keane, and that's all they were trying to do was to get Robbie Keane a goal, and he scored in the 30th minute. A world-class goal from Robbie Keane, one that I hope he brings back to the LA Galaxy because it was pretty, and it looked like, Robbie of 2 years ago, quite honestly. So that was really good stuff. Emotional,
congratulations to a prolific goal scorer in international soccer.
Yeah, he was the active leading international goal scorer whenever he retired. 68th international goal. He got that last one there playing for Ireland. So Robbie should be back, and I would expect him back for Saturday's game. Don't know whether or not he will play or whether he will start. I would expect that, being he's Robbie Keane, and he has always sort of been that way, that he will come in and he will play. Ended up playing about 56 minutes in that game. So not a full game, which was good, and I think you can have some usable minutes from him against Columbus. Want to touch on LA Galaxy 2 as well. They just won their game 2-1 over Arizona United, therefore sort of breaking the organizational losing streak that has been going on, because it hasn't been good for either team so far. So LA Galaxy 2 got a win over Arizona United 2-1. Ari Lassiter and Adonis Amaya with the 2 goals there. The thing I want to highlight is on September 10th at 7:30 p.m., that's Saturday, LA Galaxy 2 will host the first annual Pups at the Park night on Saturday, September 10th. I already said that. Bring your dog to the track and field stadium for $5. Proceeds will go towards local animal organizations. Must show up-to-date shot and vaccination records for the animal to be granted into the stadium access. Everything, they're going to keep all the dogs on the east side. So if you want to bring your pup, you can. LA Galaxy 2 on September 10th on Saturday. Also going to do like a best of show thing at halftime. So Wendy, you going to show up with your dog?
I actually have plans that night, but if they do it for another game, I'll come.
You'll go. Okay. I don't. I'm still torn. They told me I can't bring the dog in the press box. So I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm supposed to just go watch a game?
Oh, I would definitely do it. If I could bring my pug and put her in if she could have her own seat. Yeah. I actually wanted to do that for a game. Like, I have 2 seats. I don't always have someone to bring. What if I just bring my pug and she gets a seat? This
is you start going down the crazy cat people.
I want to bring my dog to a game.
You're borderline.
And
but
I want her to have a seat.
But LA Galaxy 2 will allow you to be semi crazy with this if you want to on September 10th. All right. Let's see. What else? LA Galaxy schedule. What you need to know about September is there's still a stretch of games, and unfortunately, Jelle Van Dam injured. We haven't even really talked about the injuries, but Jelle Van Dam injured with the MCL strain. He's out 2 to 3 weeks. He will miss some of these games. Steven Gerrard is out a couple of weeks with his hamstring. Giassi's artist with the broken foot we already talked about, out until at least the playoffs. Don't expect him to be back for the playoffs. I just don't want you to get your hopes up and then have it all come crashing down on everybody. So that's not going to happen. But the LA Galaxy play on Saturday, and then they have their last midweek game against Real Salt Lake at Real Salt Lake on Wednesday, September 7th, home on the 11th to Orlando, away on the 18th to Sporting Kansas City, and then home on Sunday, September 25th to end September against the Seattle Sounders. That's a nationally televised game on ESPN. Then 3 more games in October, and that's it, boys and girls. 8 games left in the season, 4 home games left, and you'll have 3 after Saturday. The LA Galaxy currently sit in 4th place in the Western Conference behind Colorado Rapids and Real Salt Lake, just 3 points behind those 2 teams, 8 points behind FC Dallas, but I think they get to play FC Dallas like about a zillion times still at the end. They have 2 more games against FC Dallas. That's not a completely outrageous thing to say that they're still in the Supporters Shield, but at the same time, knowing with all the injuries and not knowing what team is going to show up on Saturday, I would say that's a stretch at this point, so don't get your hopes up. I don't think Wendy, you won't disagree with me on that one, right?
Nope,
I didn't think so. LA Galaxy currently sit 8th in the Supporters Shield standings, almost mid-table now whenever you look at the distribution between Western and Eastern Conference. That being said, they have 1 game in hand on a couple clubs. Colorado Rapids actually have only played 25 games, so they're the ones who still have a couple games in hand in terms of who could move up and everything that could happen. All right, I'll take a breath here. Let's talk about the LA Galaxy versus the Columbus Crew. I said it's on September 3rd, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. This is on Saturday. You can find it on television, Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, Time Warner Cable Deportes. The LA Galaxy are 9-4-13 for 40 points, 4th in the West, versus Columbus, who is 5-9-11, 26 points, 9th in the West. If you look at the full table standings, Columbus is only 3 spots from the bottom. Only the Houston Dynamo and Chicago Fire have worse records than Columbus. Oh, my. Of course, you get Columbus coming in on a little bit of a streak here, Wendy. They've won 2 of their last 3 games. They just beat the San Jose Earthquakes, who seem to have fallen off a cliff 2-0 over the last weekend. So they've had a full week's rest, but have to travel all the way out to see the LA Galaxy. But they will be playing this game shorthanded. They had some injuries in the game, just like the LA Galaxy did in their last game, and they also have 4 players away on international duty. So no Awful, no Chani, no Justin Miram, who had a goal and assist, and no Saravia. I'm gonna guess that's I honestly don't even know where he plays sometimes. That's how well I know Columbus on this one. What do you think of Columbus so far, Wendy? What do you think is the plan for the LA Galaxy? Do you have any hope whatsoever for an LA Galaxy team made up of, yes, bench players coming in and beating Columbus?
Nope. I think they are playing. Columbus is playing without Higuaín, and they're playing without Will Trapp. He's also injured. So it's going to be a thinner Columbus Crew squad. However, that being said, the Galaxy will be putting out basically its bench players to play against them. And we did something similar when we played Chicago about a week and a half ago, and we did not win.
Right.
And we also did not win when we played Vancouver, and they were 9th in the West. So if we can't beat Chicago and we can't beat Vancouver, then I don't really know how we would beat Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, you're going to see guys like Alan Gordon. You're going to see guys like Mike McGee. I know everybody wants to throw in all the young guns because you all want to throw your hands up in the air and say, what do we have to lose? And I agree up to a certain point. And if you looked at the LA Galaxy 2 game, granted, they had a bunch of games in a very short span. They're actually traveling to, Colorado, I think, after the Arizona game. They've been playing away. They did rest a whole bunch of their possible prospects for an LA Galaxy game, including Bradford Jamieson IV and Jose Villarreal. Those guys got some rest and didn't play in that game, or they didn't play until the second half and came on as subs. So, there's some minutes left in some young legs. But I also think the LA Galaxy are going to lean on some of their younger players like Sebastian Lletget. And what position does he play? Does he play in the center, Wendy? Do they put him back out on the wing? What formation are the LA Galaxy going to play? They're going to switch back to a 4-4-2 without Steven Gerrard and that central attacking midfield role. Maybe you don't need to play that 4-3-2-1 that the Galaxy have sort of been, using with him in there. And if Robbie Keane comes back, what position does he play? Where do you play Giovanni Dos Santos? I think there's a ton of questions that aren't going to be answered until the lineup gets announced.
Well, I would say that the Vancouver game was totally miserable, and it was a terrible game, and the Galaxy were very, very bad. However, the one bright spot that I took from it is that I really like Sebastian Lletget as a central midfielder.
Right.
And since we don't have Steven Gerrard or Nigel de Jong now, heck, that central midfield is wide open. I mean,
Right.
You could just put anyone in there. I mean, we could see Baggios, Lletget, Big Red. It's just like a free-for-all. So why don't we trot out Sebastian Lletget as a central midfielder again? I thought he was darn good.
Yeah, and then it allows you to put Giovanni Dos Santos on the wing if you wanted to do that.
I think that he has to attack. I think he's like in the number 10 role because you don't have Gerrard, so Giovanni should go as the number 10, Sebastian Lletget as the number 8, and then I personally would like to put Raul Mendiola on the wing with Emma Boateng on the other side.
Right.
But I mean, we haven't seen much of Raul Mendiola this season, even though I really loved him in that Dallas game. I'd love to see him on Saturday.
Well, I didn't see him play at all for LA Galaxy 2 over the weekend.
That's a good sign.
I think if you're looking for him to possibly play a role, that would be a good sign. So sort of pay attention to that. That is going to be what, sort of determines this. It's about where Bruce Arena decides to slot in those younger players and some of the guys maybe like Sebastian Lletget, and then where he's going to put the veterans and whether or not you're going to put Alan Gordon in. Again,
I would really prefer to see Mike McGee as a forward as opposed to Alan Gordon. I think Alan Gordon is done.
Yeah, I mean, and you saw it.
I think he's done.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to sort of see how that all sort of plays out here towards the end. So anyway, the LA Galaxy again will play the Columbus Crew on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. You can get your tickets at lagalaxy.com /tickets. All right, Wendy, is there anything else we need to cover? Because we already ran a little bit long. Is there anything else we need to get over?
No.
You're happy with it? Well, you're
No,
not happy.
I'm not happy. I'm definitely not happy, but I feel better. I've vented. I feel like I've exercised some of the LA Galaxy demons that were living within me, and so I'm ready for Saturday's game.
You're one of those people, though, that will be really angry on like Thursday and Friday, and you'll show up Saturday and you'll sit in your seat and you'll be like, I expect them to win.
I will be there on Saturday. I will be standing up, do Star Spangled Banner, everything. I just feel the need to vent. That's just what I do. I feel the need to vent.
That's why this show exists, so I understand that. All right. Wendy, why don't you tell people where they can find you? We'll get on out of here.
You can find me at American Soccer Now, Corner of the Galaxy, and on Twitter at Bardsblog.
All right, and if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course you can go to at Galaxy Podcast on Twitter as well, and I'm that person 99.9% of the times. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com where we have some, I think, very good articles that might explain some of the Nigel de Jong stuff. I wrote a couple of them. You can also track the timeline of the Nigel de Jong transfer and all the things that happened there. Chandrima also wrote an excellent article about the psychology of a draw. A little LA Galaxy fun there as well for you if you're into some deep reading. And anything else you can find over at cornerofthegalaxy.com, including our shop. We'd love it if you headed on over to the shop and bought a button or bought a magnet. You would help us out, and we'd certainly appreciate it. It always helps us here at the podcast. All right, for Miss Wendy Thomas, I'm Josh Guesman, and you've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. We will see you at the game.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.